Hello, my name is Scott for SB Gaming. This is going to hopefully be a quick mod talk video where I talk about the various mods that I will be using for my upcoming Fallout 4 survival playthrough. I'm not going to go through all of the mods in detail, but I will have a list, hopefully updated, on the website sbgaming.tv, linked in the description below. But the first thing to note, of course, is that I use Mod Organizer, which is a very good mod manager, much better than the Nexus mod manager, which is a bit more popular, but Mod Organizer is a lot more powerful, although it can be a little bit complicated to understand, and I will explain why. First off, to switch to a different profile, you just switch here, and so I can switch right out to a completely different setup of mods. With Nexus, everything gets installed right into the data folder. With Mod Organizer, everything gets installed into separate folders, and Mod Organizer uses a sort of virtual file system in order to make Fallout 4 think that the mods are installed where they should be. You can have them on a completely separate hard drive or solid state drive. They don't have to be with the main install, which is nice. My current mod folder is about 30 gigs, although as you can see, not all of the mods are active. As an example, we have here Outfit Switcher. I have a couple versions installed just in case I need to go back to a previous version. We have vanilla extensions, and this is what I use for my previous version, and then when they went up to, I think it's version 2.2 or 2.3, they added a requirement for the master plan. That's a mod that was created by the person who created vanilla extensions, as well as stairs, ladders, and ramps, and a bunch of mods. That's where all of the essentials for his mods go. We have different survival mods. We have different, down here, this is really important. I don't think it's possible to do something like this in Nexus Mod Manager. In this case, I have 4 different versions of the Fallout 4 seasons installed. We currently have the Autumn version active. I also have Delightful Ivy, and I've selected different versions depending on the seasons. And yes, indeed, with my Fallout 4 survival playthrough, I will be cycling through the various seasons, all depending on the time of year. So currently, the game starts off October 23rd, 2287, which is autumn, and I'm aiming around sometime in December to switch over to the winter version, and so I'll just switch that out, Fallout 4 seasons to the winter, and then sometime around March, I'll be switching to spring, and then whenever summer starts, around June-ish, I'll be switching over to the summer version. So you'll see over the course of the playthrough, the seasons will change, although depending on how quickly I progress through, we might not actually get to summer, just for reasons. And a special addition for winter only is the option of snow. This is from the Nuclear Weather mod, which adds a variety of different storms. And in relation to that, of course, I am using the True Storms Wasteland Edition. Beyond that, most of the mods I have installed and will be using are similar to what I used to use in my original Fallout 4 playthrough. There are some new additions, and I did go through a little bit of a blitz through the Nexus, pulling different retexture mods on different things that you will see, of course, in the game. I want to, of course, cover a few mods that will be important. Obviously, Outfit Switcher will allow me to switch out different outfits. I have a few that I switch between depending on the situation. For instance, I have a combat outfit, I have a charisma outfit, I think I have a rad oriented outfit, and I might be doing a few other things. It's just nice to have different outfits for different purposes rather than trying to fit all within one loadout. I will also be using the Hide UI, which is nice to get the user interface off the screen. I've used this in my previous playthrough. We will be using the Def UI, although because I do not have a sorting mod installed, some of the features of Def UI are not going to be available, but I have modified the user interface as you can see on screen. And other than that, for user interface mods, I will be using the Color Map 4K with locations, And what this map is it's just a upgrade to the existing map. You can see the roads, you can see the terrain, you can see the railways, and you can get a much better sense of the world itself. It's of course in color, so it's nice and easy to see. And of course, because I have explored rather extensively the Commonwealth, I've watched the playthroughs of Gopher, Golm, Many a True Nerd, and so for the most part, I am pretty familiar with the Commonwealth, so I have an idea of where all the locations are anyway. If I wanted to remove the locations, I do have a separate option installed without locations, so I could go remove that, add that. Now I don't have the undiscovered locations on, but we are not going to do that. We are going to just select color map 4K with locations, and that's how easy it is to change up your mods. On the subject of sound and music, I will be using the Reverb and Ambience Overhaul mod. Changes the way sounds bounce throughout environments. It can be a bit distracting, but that is just another change I wanted to go with. And of course, I am using two soundtracks, one by Orcus and another, I want to say his name is Organic Vegetable, but I'll definitely have the links to their soundtracks in the description below, as well as you'll be able to find them, of course, on the Fallout 4 Survival mods list. In the case of miscellaneous mods, we have a couple mods. One is the Campsite mod. I believe it was made by Chesco, which made Frostfall. I believe it's who made it. I don't know offhand. And what this does is it adds camping, so you can have a tent, you can have a sleeping bag, you can have different things, so that out in the middle of nowhere you can of course go camping. It'll allow you to save if you are using the traditional survival rules where you can only save where you can sleep. This will allow you to do that without having to desperately run around trying to find a bed in a world where Bethesda did not necessarily plan in advance to actually have beds available in the event that you wanted to sleep. In the case of Bunker Hill, for instance, I tried roaming around, I couldn't find a bed to sleep in. I actually tried to rent a room. I think I rented a room, I think I spent the money, but the beds that were available were actually taken, so I wasn't actually able to sleep, and thus, yeah, about that. Anyway, with regards to survival mods, I will be using a number of survival mods. The first, of course, is the Enable Achievements mod. This obviously does what it says, it enables achievements, and the reason I'm using this is prior to the 1.5 patch, you could get achievements with mods, and it made no sense that they disabled after the 1.5 patch. The only reason they did so was because Sony and Microsoft do not like modded content and achievements at the same time, so Bethesda made a cross-platform decision to disable achievements when using mods. It was never like that. It might have been like that in previous versions of Fallout and Elder Scrolls, but it wasn't like that in, of course, Fallout 4 to start. We will be enabling the console, and that's just a simple matter of there are times, because the game isn't perfect, there are times you might get stuck and you have to TCL your way out of there. That allows you to clip through objects, so if you fall into something that you can't get out, you can get out. And yeah, the game is not stable enough for you to go without the console, and unfortunately if you're on consoles you won't be able to use the Enable console. I don't believe so, since of course the consoles themselves don't have a developer console, it's only a PC option. We will be using Gopher's quick save mod, no sleep till bedtime, and that is just so I can quick save when I need to. I will be primarily limiting myself to only quick saving where I could save normally, such as where there's a bed. So if I come across a bed, I will be able to save. Otherwise, I will save while I'm within settlements, because obviously if it's a settlement, I have a bed available to me. I don't want to just have to go all the way back to the bed just to lay down a save. If I want to, I should just be able to save within the settlement without any problems. So yeah, about that. For reasons that this mod loadout does cause some instability with the game, I've had some crashes, I've had one infinite loading screen, I've had a few problems where it just dumps me out to desktop. if I did not have autosaves on when I go through load zones, then I would lose a lot of progress. And I've had a few crashes around Corvega. I've had one going to ArcJet Systems. I've had one, I think, near Bunker Hill. I've had a few just in the wilderness, and I don't know what exactly causes it, other than perhaps some of the texture overhaul mods that I do have installed. And so I have autosaves on. I quick save when I can, not because I'm trying to avoid the restrictions of saving during survival, but because the game actually crashes more often than I've died. And so, yeah, that is the reason I'm using the quick save mod. Also, I didn't like the fact that Bethesda restricted you to only being able to save when you sleep. The game does create an exit save when you exit out of the game, which is nice because then you don't have to go off and desperately find a bed in order to be able to save if you need to leave. It just creates a save right where you are, so you can pick up where you left off and not have to worry about desperately finding a bed, such as in the Glowing Sea, where there are no beds from what I've understood. Since I have watched many a True Nerd's survival playthrough where, yeah, he spent an entire episode going through the Glowing Sea and not finding a place where he could actually lay down a save. It is settlement to settlement fast travel, where it allows you to travel between settlements where you have a supply line set up. So it's supposed to be able to allow you to fast travel only under certain conditions and restriction. But for the most part, in my time playing so far, about 22 episodes that I've pre-recorded, I have not actually actively used the fast travel once I have actually walked from place to place, as well as because I am playing as the Brotherhood, I have used a couple of the signal grenades allowing me to call a vertibird. I will also be using the mod water removal from chems and stims, and this is just because the quantity of water that you go through under the normal survival mode, every time you use a chem or a stim, you get thirsty, and you literally have to have a truckload of water on you, and you go through water incredibly quickly. And you'd think if you drink that much water, you'll actually get to a point where your body cannot drink any more water. So yeah, about that. Although Bethesda actually changed how much water was required, it does need a little bit of rebalance, and I'd really like to have a mod from Skyrim called Realistic Needs and Diseases, which I feel did the needs such as sleeping, eating, drinking, and disease a lot better than survival mode in Fallout 4 does. Unfortunately, as far as I know, Realistic Needs and Diseases has not been brought over to Fallout 4. Maybe it will be in the future. Maybe someone will create a needs-based mod. I won't have to use the survival version of Realistic Needs, essentially. Beyond that, I do have the mod Give My Bottles Back, which means that when you drink purified water, or I think even dirty water, you get the bottle back. Your character doesn't just throw it away, which means, of course, that you can refill the bottle and use it later on. The downside, of course, is if you pick up every bottle planning to fill them up, after a little while, it's a good idea to stop picking them up, I found, because you get weighed down a little too much. Beyond that, we have a few graphical overhaul mods, and I'll just run through these quickly. The Fallout 4 Texture Optimization Project. We have optimized vanilla textures, the graphics texture overhaul, the Faraway Area Reform, Langley's HD Textures Workshop, and these are broad mods, which, as you can see, if we go into here, information, go to conflicts, we can see which mods this mod overwrites. So a lot of the Fallout 4 Texture Optimization Project is being overwritten by this mod, and this is why I said, although I have about 36 gigs of files in my mod folder, not all of them are being used. Basically, the game is only loading these ones up and not loading these ones up from the Texture Optimization Project. This mod provides 1,200 files that are conflicted with another mod that has been installed. You can actually see here in green, this means that this mod is overwriting this mod, but it's also being overwritten by these mods here. And so this order is kind of important for mod conflict resolution. And this is the strength of Mod Organizer, where you can just have them all installed, and Mod Organizer decides based on the order that are showing up in here which mods overwrite which mods. And of course, if I want to have this one instead, I can just hide it. It will use this one instead, and that is nice. There are 482 files in this mod that are being overwritten by other mods. In this case, the all weapons high definition install. We have Jester's Better Destroyed Vehicles, HD retexture project in 4K, 2K. We have street sign retextures, so you can find out which items are being overwritten in which ones. And so we can see here Autumn. These files are being overwritten currently by the Fallout 4 Seasons Autumn. Vivid Fallout Trees, New Roads Enhanced, and just, yeah. But 967 non-conflicted files. So even though a lot of files are being overwritten, and it does overwrite a lot of files, there are still quite a few that are being overwritten. This one here, which doesn't overwrite anything else, but does get overwritten quite a bit. This one has 2,693 files that are not conflicted with other mods, although there are 4,539 files that are from this mod overwritten by other mods down in the load order. And so yeah, that's still easily a third of the files within this mod I'm still using. Beyond that, there is Flak and Oil's HD retexture project in 4K, 2K. That's another broad overhaul mod. If we take a look at the files it provides, 181 files are provided conflicts. There are 27 that are being overwritten and 132. So it's not a significant large mod, but it does provide some assets that improve the game overall. And as I've mentioned before, I am using True Storms Wasteland Edition. We're using Radiant Clouds and Fogs, the water enhancement textures, and various other overhauls, including Grasslands, which adds a lot of grass and I believe flowers to the Commonwealth Conifers Redux. Significantly changes the way that the Commonwealth looks by adding a lot of new trees. And although I'm not using the INI tweak suggested on the mod page, the INI tweak significantly increases the amount of trees. It does make it hard at places to actually find out where you actually are, because there is just so many trees, and it is quite wonderful, but it is taxing on the resources. I was getting around 40 frames a second in a lot of places. Around Good Neighbor, which is apparently a very intensive area, I was getting about 15 to 20 FPS, and so I removed the tweak, and now I'm running about 40 FPS around Good Neighbor, which is nice. Although I do want graphical improvement, performance also is important. Although with that said, I've had one issue so far around Bunker Hill which significantly lagged the game. I don't know what the cause was. It could have just been a performance spike, but I've been around Bunker Hill again and there hasn't been much of an issue, so it might have just been some massive CPU usage happening on the computer. In addition, I've talked about this before, but we do have the Fallout 4 Seasons mod and the 4 versions. If we were to, for instance, take a look at this, and we will open up in Explorer. If I were to take a look at each of these, is about 916 megabytes, 3.09 gigs just for that, although only one of those is being used at a time, and that's what I talk about with regards to having the different mods installed and activated at different times. There's 36 gigs of mods in my mod folder, but I'm not using all of them all at the same time. That might get a little bit overwhelming to the system performance, because I only have 16 gigs of memory on this computer and only 8 gigs of GPU memory. So about that. And wrapping up the graphical overhauls, I am using Vivid Fallout with the trees, landscapes, and rocks. In addition, going back up the mod list, we have the Darker Nights mod, and I am using the darkest preset which makes any area that is not lit very, very dark. I'm also using Franson's light tweaks. I was using Interiors Enhanced, Darker Ambient Light, and Fog. And although I don't know which I prefer better, I'm going with Franson's light tweaks over Interiors Enhanced. And to wrap things up, other than the mods that we have showing in here, which change a few individual things like better computer terminals, HD bandanas, Brotherhood of Steel kit, 4K combat retexture, detailed death claws. There's one Jester's Better Feral Ghouls mod. These just make the game look better overall. They focus on individual things and just make different things pop out in the environment a little bit better, and it's just a different experience. Other than that, we have a few, I'll call them character mods. We have ponytail hairstyles by Azar version 2.0. We have lots more female hairstyles, lots more male hairstyles, lots more facial hairs, immersive mouth and teeth, and realistic death physics, and that changes how bodies drop in combat. From what I understand, bodies don't fly as crazy as they used to. They kind of drop where they were shot. And so yeah, deaths in Fallout 4 can be somewhat comical in appearance, somewhat like they were in Skyrim, at least from what I remember. But beyond that, I will say I do have the Durable Vertebrates mod, and this will be kind of useful because I will be running with the Brotherhood of Steel. And so, riding on the vertebrates, it will be a good idea to have them be a little bit more durable, just for reasons, but of course, they don't get shot down as frequently, although I have seen them get shot down, so they aren't invincible. Anyway, at this point in time, I'd like to say thank you for joining me for this Mod Talk video for my new survival series. If you want any information on any of the mods that I'm using, I will most likely have a list of the mods on my website, sbgaming.tv. I'm not sure if I'm going to have links to every single mod, just because there are quite a few mods, as you can see on the screen. There are 174 mods in the list, although with that said, not all of them are active, but a fair number of them are, so yeah, that might take time if you want links. Other than that, thank you for watching. My name is Scott for SB Gaming, and as always, have a good day.